Hi everyone, welcome to Life of Emerald. Life of Emerald presents Sacred Healing Summit, and Sacred Healing Summit presents Social Revolution. Today, our summit topic is Navigating Uncertainty with Skillful Wisdom. Welcome. The Sacred Healing Summit speaks about the elephant in the room. We dialogue with society, the core issues from our real life experiences. It is a combination of wisdom and knowledge. And welcome New World 2020. It is an unprecedented time. We are witnessing lots of changes going on, and let's discover with our panelists the new way of being. Today, our agenda is to provide the audience, especially having people having a hard time tolerating uncertainty with an actionable tools to help you through this very uncertain time in our collective history today. And second agenda is developing the hero within to serve everyone, starting with you, starting with me. Let me introduce our panelist. We have Edward Anthony. He is a performance improvement manager at Stanford Children's Health Center for Pediatric and Maternal Value. He is also an active presenter at Stanford Symposium for Nursing, Quality Management, and Improvement Sciences. And he can be reached on quantumshiftdynamics.com. He's the founder of that organization. Our second panelist is ALEKSANDRA PINTERIC. ALEKSANDRA is an intuitive life coach who has 8 years of practice working with parents, businesswomen, entrepreneurs, sportsmen, helping them with conscious living, adding knowledge about energy and life wisdom. Her background of life comes from traditional Chinese medicine, numerology, energy, and soul work. She can be reached at Instagram.com, handle @alex_pin. Our third panelist is Jenny D. Harris. Jenny is an entrepreneur running her own health and wellness network marketing business. She works with busy women who are juggling their life, home, careers, business, putting everyone else first. Her message being, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Well, she can be reached on facebook.com/jennifer.harris9693. Our fourth panelist is RONALD FOGLIA. Ron is a high-performance stress relief coach, mentor, trainer, and speaker working with heart center leaders who want to make the world a better place, adding value to people's life and enhance their community, all while adding profit to the bottom line. Ron works with world-class leaders how to use their God-given talents. He can be reached on linkedin.com/in. His handle is Ronald-Foglia. Our next panelist is SYED KHARHANI. SYED is a talent development expert, organization consulting specialist, and happiness scientist. He is the founder of Indian Training Company, has experience of 14 years involved with building capabilities for performance and managing organization culture and change. Now he can be reached at indiantrainingcompany.com. He is the founder of this organization. And our next panelist is Dr. Adrienne McLean. Dr. Adrienne is a professional storytelling coach, brand aligner, podcast published author, and content creator who delights in using her PhD in drama to help people spin the murky roles of life experience into narrative gold. She can be found at thatsallowed.com. She is the founder of this organization. And finally, my name is Kate Emerald. I'm an entrepreneur, healer, and an ancient wisdom holder. I enjoy learning about spirituality, world cultures, and meaning of life. I'm a corporate consultant, and my ancestors are kings of South Korea and scholars of noble class in Shilla dynasty. I can be reached at facebook.com/groups/lifeofemerald. Please join us in this healing community. And now, navigating uncertainty with skillful wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, let me pop out of the screen here. and get right into this. So panelists, hello, how are you? We discussed that, and I know we are all good right now, and in the time that is really uncertain out there, and I'm wondering how everyone, each and every one of us, is personally handling the uncertainty that is going on externally. And so let me ask everyone here, could you please share your personal true story which has shaped you navigate uncertainty in the past? What has helped you then? And by looking from the vantage point today, what would you tell your past self with compassion? Feel free to jump in, anyone.
I'll go ahead and jump in. So being the resident storyteller, I think it's only fair that I start. So there are three very important things that have changed my life in terms of the way that I live. The first is authenticity, just living with rigorous authenticity, being honest, even when it's really vulnerable and scary to do so. The second is to let go of the outcome. Just hold it really lightly and just let what will be. And the third is that the way out is the way through. And the more we try to avoid discomfort, the more it comes back to us. And if we can actually go into that discomfort and do that uncomfortable work, that is the way out of it. And so the story that I want to tell today is how I learned about boundaries, because boundaries are the thing that, more than anything else, that tool that has helped me to deal with uncertainty in my own life. So I was working with this guy who kept hitting on me and being inappropriate. And he kept doing this thing where he would take my phone while I was, walking, I would walk away from the desk or whatever. And he would take my phone and start looking through to try to find pictures of me. It was very creepy and it was very weird. And so I caught him doing this a couple of times. And the first time I said, "Hey, that makes me really uncomfortable. Please don't do that anymore." Well, surprise, surprise, he kept doing it. And I realized that this is how I had been setting boundaries my entire life, was just saying, "Hey, here's my boundary. Could you please take care of it for me?" Instead of recognizing that that is my responsibility. That boundary is mine, and it is my job to defend it. And so the second time it happened, I said to him, "Hey, hi, if you do that again, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get you fired." Now, this is nothing personal. I don't dislike you. I actually like hanging out with you, but you keep doing things that are inappropriate, and I can't work in conditions like that. And so I don't want to leave this office. I like it here. And so if this keeps happening, I'm going to get you fired. That's what I'm going to do. And it worked. And we became friends after that, and he stopped being creepy and everything got great. And so for me, the moral was just recognizing, hey, I'm in charge of my own boundaries. And so having that certainty just around what I was willing to put up with and what I wasn't willing to put up with, and then what I was going to do about it, is the clarity that I needed to navigate that uncertain situation. So there you go.
Thank you very much, Dr. Adrienne.
I'll go next, if that's what you're waiting for. Sorry. My story that I'd like to share with you is not too dissimilar to Dr. Adrienne's, but there are three things that I absolutely live by in my life. And being a former police officer, honesty and integrity is at the forefront and at my core. And also understanding that you've got to listen to your internal sat-nav. What do I mean by that? Your internal sat-nav is your gut. So many times as adults, we think we know better, and we get those red flags, we get that gut feeling, whether it's a good or a negative thing, and we ignore it. So for me, learning to listen to my gut feeling has kept me safe. So the story that I'd like to share with you today is about 2 years before I left policing. I had a line manager who seemed to think that the fact that I was the mom as well as a police officer was not acceptable to that person. So they tried to make my life as difficult as possible whenever it came to things around my children and work, despite the fact that I was perfectly entitled to do what I was doing and that I wasn't doing anything wrong. But they definitely tried to put obstacles in my way, to create anxiety for me at work. And in essence, I was being bullied. But because of the person I am, one of the other things I learned about myself was, even though people perceive you to be strong and have lots of courage, sometimes when something is happening to you in particular, you don't realize just how much strength and courage you have until you are put to that test. And that's one of the things I learned about myself, that despite the fact that, yes, I was a police officer, yes, I dealt with all sorts of things and faced all sorts of unpleasant things. When it's directly happening to you, I have met lots of people who have backed away because they don't want to cause any trouble. However, I'm not one of those people. So this individual who was bullying me at work, I did pretty much what Dr. Adrienne's, I did the same. I called them out on that behaviour and told them that if they didn't stop, that it was going to go further. However, unlike Dr. Adrienne's, I was dealing with a narcissist and he didn't stop. I've just named him. He didn't stop. So, my incident went all the way to HR, and he was disciplined, and things, got better from there. But what I learned, and what I would say to anybody who is in a situation where they are struggling with confidence and courage, is really to listen to your internal sat-nav. Listen to yourself. Treat yourself with kindness, because you are right. If something doesn't feel right to you, it is not right, and you should never accept it. And that's what I would say to my most compassionate self.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Jenny.
All right, Kate, if it's okay, I'd like to jump in here and share next. My whole story and focus, and actually my entire life right now, is focused around stress. But now it's in a good way on how to relieve stress and get rid of it. But stress taught me a very interesting lesson several years ago. During that last Great Recession, I was working with business owners, professionals, leaders, and individuals to help get them through the recession. They were having difficulties in their life with their business. And what I found is that there was issues around stress, and it was consistent. The more stress they had in their life, the bigger the problems, the bigger the issues. So I shifted my consulting work at that time, and I led with stress relief. And what I found was, when we were able to address the stress issues, that it was easy to solve the problems in their business, personal life, or their career. Little did I know that a few years later, I would need that literally to save my life. You see, during that recession, my wife had lost her job. Being a two-income household, it wasn't long before we really couldn't afford our mortgage payments. Taking the high road, we said, well, let's try to solve the problem. We'll tap into our savings, try to save our credit, et cetera, et cetera. It didn't work. We still lost our home. Mm-hmm. But I had a client reach out to me and offered me a job, and it was a good financial position, and there was the light at the end of the tunnel we were looking for. We were thrilled. But 5 months later, we realized the volatility of the gas and oil industry. Prices nosedived. The company I worked for had about 75 employees, and I was one of the 70 that was let go. I'll never forget that drive home to tell my wife I had just lost my job. She had been unemployed for 2.5 years. The real issue, as the stress continued to build, was that we had less than $1,000 in the bank. We had a car that needed a transmission. And in 2 weeks, we were about to be homeless because we didn't have money to pay our rent for the next month. And I hope no one has ever experienced that type of feeling before, but we literally went into shock. After that shock wore off, I realized I had to apply some of the same techniques that I was using to help business owners and individuals just a few years later. And when I did that, I was able to get traction, and I was able to get to that next level. And what I'd like to do right now is share quickly a 60-second breathing exercise that was the focal point that helped me make a difference. And I use this with my clients today. It's a simple exercise where you breathe through the nose. You're going to visualize that air coming in through your nose and going into your lungs to a 4 count. You hold it in your lungs to a 4 count, and then you exhale through your nose to a 4 count. And you see that air go out in front of you, and you hold it there to a 4 count. That's just about 16 seconds. We're going to do that 4 times, and that's going to give us our minute. Before we start, pay attention to your thoughts. Are your thoughts racing? Are they going a mile an hour? Are you thinking this guy's crazy? This is never going to work? Whatever you're thinking is okay. It doesn't matter. Scan your body quickly to see where you may be holding stress. Some people hold it in their eyes, the back of their neck, their chest, their forehead. It doesn't matter. Just be aware. Okay, I'm going to walk you through this. Let's take one deep cleansing breath in. Blow it out. Okay, let's breathe in through the nose. Ready? Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold it out. 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. Exhale. Hold it out. One more time. Breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold it in. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Hold it out. That's just about 60 seconds. Be aware of your thoughts. Have they slowed down? Are they a little calmer? Scan your body. Do you still have that stress? Has it shifted your energy? This particular exercise is very, very powerful. In fact, it's been used for the last few years to train elite military and law enforcement agencies around the world. When they get into a crisis situation, they're usually going in armed. And they want that clarity, they want that focus, so they can make the right decision at the right time. This technique is incredible for releasing stress. But realize stress doesn't just go, you handle it once and it goes away. We have that fight, flight, freeze mechanism in our brain that's there to protect us from physical danger. But in today's world where there's more mental and emotional danger, it's a bigger concern because the stress is constant. When we're in chronic stress, our brain, and research has validated this, only focus us on survival, which is our weaknesses, our vulnerabilities. We need to shift out of that. This opens the doorway for what is critical. Please understand that there was a time when we were told that the word was spoken and worlds were created. We were then told we were created in that image and likeness. That image and likeness is the power of our spoken word, our thoughts, and our actions. These are the tools when we learn how to use it. And please keep in mind, we have never been trained how to use the power of our spoken word, that gift. When we use it in a positive way, in a focused way, to create what we want in a positive, heart-centered, balanced alignment, where we're benefiting our customers, our employees, our family, our neighbors, and our community. We have reached a place where we can make a big difference in the world. And that's my goal, to really make a big difference in the world. You know, I love working with heart-centered individuals. And the way to take what I just shared with you is through visualization. And when you visualize that end result, when you visualize our world in harmony, your business, you know, helping people, reaching out, put emotion, put positive feeling behind it. That's what's going to energize it. That's the catalyst to make your dreams come true and also to make a big difference in the world.
Thank you, Ron. And let's have our next panelist share.
Sure. So I think I'll just go. Thank you so much, Ron, for that beautiful whole little piece that you shared with us. It's 2 a.m. here, so I got so relaxed when I was doing that breathing. I was almost about to fall asleep. I had to, I had to, just stop myself from doing so. Anyway, I have to be mindful of the time, as Kate said. So I'll quickly start off with what I need to share with you. So the ideas, the story that I'm about to share is it's about the elephant in the room, and it's about the hero that I found within myself. I was born and raised in India, and it was in a salaried class, middle income group family. And my family always talked about great ideas of love and unity. And at home, I always heard that pursuits of fame and fortune corrupt people. And then we often found ourselves in the midst of financial crises. So it always kind of surprised me. At school, I was mostly bullied for being overweight. I was never able to make many friends. Physically, I used to be present there, but mentally, I found myself socially isolated. And because of these experiences, when I grew up, I was afraid and also secretly misanthropic. I thought the world only had people who gave bad advice and broke your confidence. Um, through late 2018 to late 2019, I went through some mental health problems. I went through anxiety and depression. And during that time, I had some great discoveries. From finding out more about mental health to discovering my unhealthy emotional coping habits, I found out a lot of new things. So, in a way, I have dealt with all 5 elephants in the room that Kate talks about: mental health, isolation, confusion, fear of change, and unhealthy coping habits. If I could go back in time, I would first give myself a bro hug because that's what I needed most at that time. And then I'm going to tell myself to become aware about stuff, right from positive psychology to financial literacy. Then I would ask myself to accept me as I am and not be ashamed of my body type or my skin color. I might also give myself a motivational pep talk. Finally, I would tell myself to set goals and create actionable roadmaps to achieve them and move ahead without a fear of worry or, without a fear of worry or setbacks or failures, without thinking about any of those things. Today, I learn something new every day, and I find myself upgraded from what I was yesterday. My period of difficulty, uncertainty, and hardships have taught me one thing, and that is always keep improving. My life changed when I understood that the saving I needed would be provided by me and not by someone else. So, to the people who will be listening to this talk in the future, like Kate said, we're targeting 1 million people. So, 1 million people, I want to tell you this. If you are going through a bad time, if you're going through a difficult time and you're waiting for someone to rescue you, please don't, because that's your job. It's your job to take yourself to the therapist, to the coach, to the trainer. It's your job to take the first step in the direction of personal improvement. And when you take that first step, something magical happens. Just like in those X-Men movies when Professor Charles Xavier enters the dome and automatically that bridge keeps building that takes him to that area where he connects to the minds of all mutants. just like that, that bridge magically constructs, and you get connected to the whole entire universe that is out there ready to help you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, SYED, for sharing.
At this point, I would like to add my story and thank you all to really sharing your pieces. It was so beautiful to hear you, to feel you. My point of view would be to talk about a little bit about the inner calling that we all have. If we listen to our inner calling, maybe it can be like a gut feeling, like an instinct or intuition. It's just, we have to listen to it. This was my story of the whole life, to really listen to the inner calling and do the actions, because we have a lot of ideas. We have a lot of, I don't know, I was in the abusive relationship, and I had that calling, I have to get out, but I was responding, and it was just getting worse. I had a lot of ideas what to do, what to say, who to help, but I didn't. I did do some of them, okay, but still, there were a lot of things that I didn't do because I was uncertain, I was feeling self-hatred, I was doubting, because there were those voices. What will they say? What if I can't? What if I'm not good enough? What will they think? What will they be? And we know the story, how it goes. And in one point of my life, when I went away from that abusive relationship, I found myself, looking into a mirror, just asking myself, who am I and what is actually going to be from the rest of my life? Through the whole of my childhood, I was listening that, because I was very hyperactive, and in my culture, it was a phrase, you are like a devil, with that, beautiful, not with that angry face, because they didn't know how to deal with me. And at what point, when I was 6, I realized that this is what I am. Because all of them, they were telling me that I'm like a devil. So I realized, I made a conclusion, this is what I am. That's why I had a lot of drug issues, alcohol issues, abusive relationship issues, blah, 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 and etc. And when I really saw myself in the mirror, it was just not one point. I thought it's going to be the awakening. It's just one point, but it wasn't. It was here and here and here and here, and a lot of that. And the only thing in the end who was really keep me going on was that inner calling, that I just have to do what I feel. Just, I have to go and do it. And it was not just the calling that I had inside. Sometimes it was the calling that I heard in my surroundings. That's how I heard about the story about the girl on a wheelchair who wished for Christmas that she would be able to walk. And I was crying for 3 days because I saw, at that time I was a teacher in primary school, what kids were wishing, what my son was wishing. It was also a point when I was totally broke. A few months later, I lost my job. So we know how those stories go. But that story about that girl, it was in my heart, it was in my soul, and I wrote a children's story. And I waited for the next inner calling for 3 years when I realized, why should I publish this book? I didn't know anything about publishing the book. I didn't know anything about, the calling. It was, you should publish this book, and from the book sellings, place the first swing on a public playground, the swing for children on a wheelchair, so that they could play and smile with other kids. I didn't know anything about it. And I was so afraid. But that inner calling was so powerful that in the end, I was typing. It was one evening, I was typing the email to our state president. I was totally broke. It's really the bottom of my life. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. It's just, before I was entering that enter button, I was so afraid what is going to happen. But 3 weeks later, I received that creamy letter from email with golden letters on, when the president invited me to his chambers and supported the whole project. I gave the moral support and media support, and now I'm transferring the whole project on the international level. it was not everything just, you know, I thought in my life that when I'm going to go in my path and do the work, and when I'm going to find my inner calling, that everything is just going to go. But that was just an illusion. It's not like that. It's just every step of the time you are dealing, because those uncertainties, those sabotages, fears, self-hatred, they are the travelers all around, all the way. And in one point, you just train yourself, become so aware of them, and that you are not aware, you're not afraid of those feelings anymore. You just slowly become who you are, and you know who you are. And you just keep going because of that inner calling. So yes, and my message to all the listeners, it would be, first thing is listen. So close your mouth. Listen to the people, what life is telling you around. Listen to for the voices that are inside of you. The second thing is observe. Observe those voices. Observe what is happening inside of you. The third part is, then comes the pain, the vulnerability part. Stay. Nothing will happen. Just stay. Breathe. Stay. You have now the technique how to breathe. Just go, because that is the door when you are entering to the next level. And it has to be a vulnerable part, you know. And when you come in through that vulnerability comes the fourth part. That it's when you elevate, when it's when you transform, then it's when you become aligned with that unconditional love, and you know who you are. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Alexandra, for sharing your insight.
Okay, have I got a story for you? The elephant in the room. You know, I was married for like 12 years, and I thought I was in the highest apogee of what our culture and our programming affords us. 6-figure income, 5-bedroom home, top position in a healthcare institute, 2 lovely daughters going to private schools, and I'm in a relationship with someone that I think I love, right? And I started going to yoga with Yogi Hari, and I started learning yoga, and I started learning about karma, and I started peeling away the veils. It was all fake. All of that was fake. That wasn't real at all. And I watched this movie. It's called Finding Joe by Joseph Campbell. And it's the hero's journey. And I called this for me was the crack in the armor. I had so much armor on that I didn't even know how to feel. And as I started getting into yoga deeper, and I started going deeper into who Edward is, I began to find out more and more how much I'm not, as opposed to who I think I really am. I studied under Yogi Hari, and I had one question, because he had he had shown me his family. He had grown daughters and grown sons. They were in their 20s and 30s, and that was in his first marriage. And I asked him, I said, Yogi Hari, why did you get divorced? He looked me straight in the eye. I'll never forget the glare in his eye, because it looks like you're enveloped in a yogi. He's like the deepest universe. And he just enveloped me, and he looked me straight in the eye and he said, I couldn't pretend any longer. Whoa. That pierced right through the armor, and it started to break off the crust around my heart. You know, at that same time, I too, Ron, was going through some difficult times. I got laid off, and The day I was informed I got laid off, it was 2 months after I had moved out of my home and told my wife and children that this isn't for me anymore. Too many things were going on. All the details isn't important. I moved out. I was out of my home for about a month. And I was in an apartment about 6 miles away, and I had my divorce papers handed to me. And the only thing that I knew that I could rely on was what I learned from Yogi Hari, and that was meditation and going deep into the feelings of hurt, anger, fear, sadness, betrayal, all these numerous negative emotions. No drinking, no drugs. Dive into the feelings and allow that crack in the armor to show the Buddha within. The elephant in the room has nothing to do with the material sense. It's all our societal conditioning we don't address. We don't have to wait until a catastrophe happens, but we do have to go deep into the practice. Practicing is where we have things that provide us an opportunity to step into that Buddha, that awakened mind, or that awakened soul. I left that situation, went through the divorce. It took 3 years, and there was a significant amount of depression, Syed. I know about depression. I know about having handguns in my house and being suicidal. That's the deep transformation that allows us to shine. It's all part of the path. There's not a good part of it. There's not a bad part of it. There's not the light and there's the dark. It's all together. It's all part of the path. And fortunately, when I came out here to California, I met a master. His name is Master Shah. Master Shah has taught me a number of practices from traditional Chinese medicine, Qigong, Neigong, you can call it whatever you want. But it allowed me to feel and allowed, those suppressed feelings to come up. And when it's allowed, and just like everyone else, is realize that any type of pain that I'm going through is because I did that to someone else. And now it's time from the cause and effect for me to realize this is what you did to someone else. I did that. The universe brings it back. And the universe says, well, how do you like yourself now? Spiritual path is not going to a spa and getting a massage. The spiritual path really is that place where you're willing to dive in to find out who you really are. And I can share with you one practice. It's not a long practice, but I'm going to tell you, Ron, the human voice and song pierces, and it's a quantum physical biological field. I can chant for you right here, right now, and the photon that is in your body, you will feel that in your body wherever you are. Syed will feel that, Alexandra will feel that, Kate will feel that. That frequency and vibration of song and feeling goes far beyond what our modern technological devices can actually measure, but it's true. The truth of it is this. Traditional Chinese medicine, Alexandra, you know this. This hand is made up of 5 elements. I'm going to be very quick with this, Kate. I won't go over, but I think this is an experience that everybody can have, because experience is a lot more than my story. If you have the experience, you'll walk away with the experience, as opposed to Edward's story. You'll forget that like 20 minutes after this show. But if you have an experience, it's something that you can take with yourself. It's called Xinggong Minggong. Shingon is from the Tibetan Buddhists. They focus on the heart. The Tibetan Buddhists always focus on the heart. Tonglen practices, meditative practices, Ron, that's true. The Taoists, they play with a thing called the Ming Men. It's your L4, okay? Your lumbar, and it's the L4. That's where life starts. It is a life gate. This hand, the right hand, you just put over your heart. The left hand, you put over right below your navel. In your hands, these here is a Lao Gong point. Energy comes from here. These fingers represent 5 elements, which you as a body will dissipate into those 5 elements at your death. But as you're alive right now, you can use those 5 elements to transform yourself, especially in those emotional imbalances. And I'm just gonna chant one chant. It's called the Greatest Compassion Mantra. I learned this from Master Sha as a Guanyin lineage holder. And I want you to have this experience because song is so powerful. Dance is even more powerful. So just now, sit up straight. Make sure your back is away from the chair. You have to have your spine straight in this. If you're leaning back and all luxurious, you're not going to have the sense. Place your right hand over your heart. Take that left thumb and put it right into your navel and place the left hand right over your lower abdomen. It's called the lower dantian. Close your eyes. Visualize a golden light. Golden, shiny, beautiful. You may see a purple light. You may see a white light. That's okay. You may see rainbow colors. That's okay. And I want you to ask for one blessing. For, emotional imbalance, if you have pain in your body, or if you have a relationship that has some challenges. And now I will chant the mantra. Qian shou qian yan da si da bei jiu ku jiu nan da guan Wan man, Guan shi yin pu sa, Ling hui shan shi, Qian wang jing wang. How. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of the souls that came to this chanting session to help heal and transform our panelists, as well as our audience who may see this recording. This blessing is for you. I love you, I honor you, and I appreciate you. Thank you. Now open your eyes. And if anybody at some given point would like to share their experience, that's great. Or I'm happy to hand this off to our beloved host, Kate.
Thank you, Edward, for the transmission and your insight. As I'm listening to every one of our panelists share, we have innumerable amounts of wealth and wisdom here lies in our individual panelists and our participant audience also listening. And the key theme I'm hearing from all of us is that, Dr. Adrienne, you're a, part of a life story that alchemized you to become who you are, and you have a specific signature story that is helping you to help other people, such as storytelling, bringing out that gift in other people that is hidden, perhaps because people haven't shared or given themselves the permission to share their story. As we embrace that life is an adventure and a movie we create. And so when we look at it from that perspective, we get to enjoy whatever happened, because that does not define who we are, right? And I'm listening to Jenny, and Jenny, you are from the policing department, and your life story also is an accumulation of who you are, of who you are in terms of what movie you've created. Nonetheless, it doesn't define who you are in the core, but the journey you rode up until this point is uniquely yours, and it's very, very precious for you. And Ron, you shared later, you're also, a person like everyone here who's embraced the dark night of the soul, from going from top to bottom, losing everything, almost to the brink of losing a home. And now you're thriving, helping everyone around you, including world leaders. And your story, also another movie here, is also wealthy and beautiful to listen and offer to our audience who may be treading the similar water right now. And SYED, thank you for sharing your perspective from the parts of where the world you are. And I haven't been to India, but I can imagine what a diverse background that is, let alone your 5 elephants you called out. Is very diverse. The theme I hear from your life movie is fighting for the underdog, because you have been there, and as a champion. And that's a beautiful movie itself. And then we have ALEKSANDRA. You also have, gone through a deep, dark night of the soul. And, the theme about abusive relationship is all too common, right? Especially right now. And in the COVID situation, people are perhaps cooped up in the house. And so your specific movie, your life story, is a testament to we can thrive in the most difficult times. So turning the threat into an opportunity, exemplify that. And finally, Edward, you have shared the transmission from the spiritual realm, and going through our audience from having everything, material possession, having 5-bedroom home and all that, to just one day giving that all up for the sake of inner truth. Yeah. And now you're here with Master Sha's work, and you're accumulating all this, a new insight about the spiritual realm, and you're making a new set of a movie from your past. And briefly about my story, I like to acknowledge what Edward shared about the karma. And I take full responsibility of all the suffering I've endured in this life, perhaps for the benefit of my path to liberation. And if there is past life, I definitely have been a world-class leader, and this is certain through my soul inquiry. And also, I have been multiple things in the past. And when I compile all of that, and in my meditation, when I look into what has happened in my life, specifically in 2009, the trauma, has really kicked my butt. And fast forward 11 years today, I am wiser and a healer due to all these things that accumulated like a shell crab, gathering all this information and story and what have I done wrong, what have I done right, and compiling all of that. And that is my own movie. And I would like to, speak to my past self, the person who was very lonely in America, alone, studying as an international student, that I am not alone. Never. I'm never alone. And how do I know that is, by checking in. I am always with myself. And myself, my soul, is connected to every one of us here. There's a specific area, perhaps quantum physics, we call that when we run, and Edward knows more about this, but there's a field that we all share in one humanity. And so I would like to take, opportunity, I would like to see my karma as an opportunity to say, okay, I take responsibility of all this pain I may have caused. Let me face it so that I can be a wiser person, so that I can help other people. So perhaps audience listening, you ladies and gentlemen might be going through significant shifts right now. I want you to really embrace that this is an opportunity to turn the wheel upside down so that you can start a renew, like SYED, like Ron, like ALEKSANDRA, like JENNI, like Dr. Adrienne, and like Edward. And so let me walk us through a 3-minute meditation before we shift gears. Yeah. So please let us close our eyes and tune into your heart center and invite an emerald green light in your heart. And let it expand your entire body, head to toe. And bring our green light awareness from the heart to our pelvic area. And fill your pelvic area with green emerald light. And now let us anchor ourselves on earth by imagining the green emerald light penetrating through the earth all the way down to the core of earth, and gently wrap your cord with the core of earth, Mother Gaia, which is very, very deeply loving. And feel her love and sensual being nurturing us, our entire body, mind, and soul. And we pull that sensual love into our body from the core onto our body, and feel that sensuous nature fill in our entire body and mind and soul. And let us stay here for 30 seconds. Please enjoy. as we recognize the sensuous nature in all of us, let us let go of the cord in the core of Earth. Let it slowly dissipate. And we bring all of our awareness to our body, your body. And with gratitude for surviving, living, breathing, gratitude to life. Feel free to open your eyes, our eyes. And we shift gears here. Thank you, everyone. So what would happen next is I would invite audience to dialogue with our panelists, and also an opportunity for our panelists to ask any of us questions. So it would be more less structured, but just like colleagues checking in and talking and chatting here. And so Ron and Edward mentioned about potentially hearing from people what the exercise has impacted us. And so I would like to open this segment to freely share what comes up. And as we have about 10 minutes, we would organically network here. And so I'm setting the intention that we are building a healthy community. And yeah, let's feel free to just chit chat. Ryan, how was it for you?
It was good. There was a lot of very different perspectives. I think a lot of things very relatable. But again, all coming from different people from all over the world. But it's all things that, as they're talking about them, you've experienced at some point in your life. So, given the current situation in the world, a lot of people can relate to this sort of gathering of the minds, I'll say. And I think it can be very impactful. There's lots. I basically have almost 2 pages of notes here of things that I've written down, further topics for discussion that I think, again, can be shared in different contexts. Each of the speakers, shared a different perspective, and I could kind of watch everybody, just understanding where they were coming from, because I think the big thing that I'll take away from this is we're all human, and really sometimes we forget that. So we're all really related deep down, which is I think it's really been eye-opening for me, to be honest with you. A lot of the negative feelings I may have felt in the past, even positive feelings, when you can see people that have gone through negative experiences, as have I, but feeling the joy when you can really dig deep, and come out of the other side of that, having a better understanding of yourself and the people around you. So I think this is very impactful, and will help a lot of people.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah. So yeah, let's party. Let's dialogue party here.
I wanted to mention that in listening to the stories, and Ryan brought it up, and I believe Edward mentioned it as well. We're all from the same source. We all, which is where we get our connection. It doesn't matter what our distance is. And with every story that everyone shared, I could see myself in every story, experiencing maybe different degrees or different aspects of each one, but it was, it was just like there was some heartfelt connection there, whether it was empathy or having gone through it or, whatever. I found it to be quite powerful. And the beauty of what every speaker has said in one way or another is directly related to evidence-based protocols from neuroscience and quantum physics. Science are validating all these feelings, all these experiences. You know, so seeing the truth in it from a scientific standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, and then see it actually being acted out in all of our individual lives is just phenomenal, just phenomenal.
I totally agree with that. I think that we have from ages been made of, you know, to be together, sitting around the table or around the fire and talking about stories, life stories, legends, myth. It's just sharing through those stories life wisdom. And this is something that we all can feel the same here now. This is something that kids are, you know, long to talk about. And when, or we all know the experience, I don't know, in a school, it was a primary or secondary school or in a college, when a teacher or a professor was telling her or his personal story, we would just listen. The ears would be like that. So this is something really what in one way, I would like to see your point of view. COVID is actually inviting us to go inside, to, you know, be in your own lockdown, in your, you know, physical lockdown, in your physical body, to really go and dive in. And it is in one way also unpleasant, but on the other hand, when we talk, when we really talk, you know, we always can find a solution. We all have the same story, internet and everything is solution. So we can talk, we can then share this experience. And I would like to see your point of view. What are the benefits of this COVID situation for you, as your point of view, that you see them, the benefits?
One benefit that I've seen is that a lot of people are getting in touch with their creativity again. This is an opportunity to kind of take a break from that expectation that you should be living this certain kind of life, that there's all these goals that you should be working towards, and everything just sort of stopped for a while. And there was this quiet. And we were all able to kind of go back to, what do I actually enjoy doing? What brings me joy? What could I create with this time in my life that wasn't here before? It was like time just suddenly appeared like magic. And so that's what I've seen. I've also seen a lot of self-compassion. People forgiving themselves and just checking in with themselves and recognizing, hey, none of us can control what's happening right now. None of us can. This is nobody's fault. I mean, conspiracy theories aside, you know, this is happening right now. And we all have to accept that. And so there's this beautiful moment around the world of everybody just going, okay, I accept. This is what's happening right now. Here's where I am. Forgiving ourselves, forgiving each other, and possibly, I hope, finding new ways to relate to each other, to the world, and to ourselves. That's what I see.
I jump in here. There are two things that I've seen personally around the world, not just in the UK, is that people have really started to focus on their health. People have stopped taking their health for granted and started to focus on how they can make themselves better, whether that is through just eating better, managing their weight better, just being mindful of what they're putting into their bodies. I've really seen that more people, certainly in the UK, have started growing their own vegetables and starting to look at ways that they can produce their own food. Because when the shops were all sold out, people didn't have a choice. So now people are starting to go back to nature because they had time. So, you know, like you, Dr. Adrienne, I'm hoping that some of those changes that were forced upon us, that they become the new normal. whatever that is. But I just hope that from that perspective, in terms of looking after their health, people just being mindful of what they're doing and just stop taking it for granted. That's the first thing. And the second thing that I've really noticed, again, certainly in the UK, is how people took care of others. They stopped focusing on themselves because we were all so busy. Everyone's been busy for years. And when time literally stopped, certainly in the UK, on the 23rd of March, 2020 at 8:30 p.m, the world stopped. We were all told to stay home. We couldn't go to work. We had to close the doors. We couldn't do anything. So, but then once people got over the shock of that, they started to think about, what about those people who can't get out? What about those people who need some help? What about those people who have got to stay in and don't have a choice? People started to help others, started to think of creative ways that they could help other people other than themselves. And that for me was a massive change. Even where I live, you know, I am very fortunate that I live in a really nice area. Everybody's got jobs and nice houses and all that kind of thing. And everybody in the morning, you know, all the cars go off the estate. Everybody's gone to work. And at a certain time of day, they all come back. And everybody just goes hi from their car as they're going through their front door. They close the door, you never see them again. They were out, everybody was out helping. And for me, that, you know, I now know who my neighbours are. I've lived here for 15, 16 years. I didn't know who they were. I now know who they are. So for me, that is a huge change. And that didn't just happen in my streets. That happened across the UK. So those two changes for me, I think have been incredible. But certainly from a health point of view, with the sector that I work in, seeing people being more conscious about their health has been second to none. Particularly, you know, when the news came out and the research was showing that the people who are overweight and obese were affected more seriously by the virus, and certainly some aspects of Black and visible ethnic minority groups were also affected more adversely by the virus. So from my point of view, seeing people now who weren't that bothered and kind of took their bodies for granted, you know, they wake up in the morning and just go through the motions, that the virus stopped them, that the whole world stopped and they started to think differently. So that perspective, and people just giving each other a hug, although they can't, a virtual hug, giving people a virtual hug through to, you know, this time has been really nice to see.
Thank you for sharing that, Jenny. You mentioned a specific date, March 23rd, and astrology played March 21st, 22nd is when Mars conjuncted Jupiter, they got together. And so when we look at it from an astrologer perspective, this was in due time, predicted, sort of, not the exact what would happen, but it was predicted. Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did have one question. I'll jump in. I did have one question for Edward. It was around karma. You know, you made some really difficult choices. You know, I have a family myself. I can certainly appreciate how you would have to make those hard choices. But how do you feel that karma has impacted you since that time? And how do you deal with that?
Yeah. You know, Ryan, that's a really good, that's a long discussion, karma. You know, from a science point of view, you know, it's been called cause and effect, right? We talk in scientific terms. From a spiritual standpoint, they call it karma. Past life experiences, where were you in a past life? Kate has come to realize that she was from a particular dynasty and things like that. But I realize in these that happened to me on the meditative mat is that what had happened to me with my family and with, I don't even call her my ex-wife, I just call her the mom of my daughters. She's not, I don't like that term. I never liked that term, my ex-wife, and everybody gets that, big charge on it. We're pretty good friends today. It wasn't like that in the first 3 years. There was a lot of emotional, imbalance between the two of us. But on the meditative mat and going into deep, deep meditation and asking the source, what is all of this? What am I supposed to learn? Well, wouldn't you know that the person I call mom of my children, she had done the same exact thing to me, and I was the female, she was the male, in a culture in which I really didn't understand, but I saw this vast picture of a valley and a home. And she was the male at the time. She had found a person that she wanted to go follow on a spiritual path and left me and 4 children in the village and never came back. That was the karmic picture that was presented to me as someone has already done this in the past. Now this is happening to you. How are you going to address this now? In that karmic understanding, I addressed it by one, I went through all the due process that was necessary with lawyers. I made sure that both mom and children had sufficient amount to be able to be in a place where their lives emotionally was a little distraught for about a year, but they were able to reunite. They have a home. They've gone to college. They've gone to high school. They have their friends. The dad isn't there physically. We talk twice a week between the daughters, and I provide, as my retribution, the child support and alimony that we negotiated. Now, there's a lot of men out there that wouldn't even do that. But I knew that if I'm going to negotiate this and make this happen, that the karmic connection between she and I am making sure that I clear it in this lifetime. That's where the karmic understanding came for me. Now, there's plenty of other karmic learnings that I've learned as well under this path in spirituality. I mean, I have some physical pains that come up every now and then. Recently, I had some misalignments in my spinal column, and it really hurts a lot. It's like around the thoracic 5 and 7. It creates some neuropathy in the fingers and, in pain. But wouldn't you know, again, sitting on the mat, when I was in a past life in a battle, I was on a horse. And the horse reared up, and the hooves landed on someone that wasn't quite, let's say, dead at the time during that battle. And then the hooves landed on the back of that person that was on the ground. Well, now I get to feel now that negative memory of that person that went through that pain and that suffering that I caused by having my horse rear up and landed on them. Oh, now I'm feeling that pain myself. These types of karmic presentations in our lives, in these conditions, they happen often and frequently. All too often, though, we don't address them. We see them as a way to, like Ron was saying, fight or flight. I'm going to fight it or I'm going to run from it, which are not really good options. Or I'm going to go through this and gather the learnings that I guess I didn't learn in that previous lifetime about it, but I'm giving that opportunity now in this precious life as a human being to actually learn it now, because the main ascension when you start looking into these things, Ryan, is this. Under the Tibetan Buddhists and the Taoists is we want to ascend beyond the point of physical form. where we don't have to continue to come back and learn all these karmic learnings of things in which we can provide help and guidance at a different dimension, but not in the third dimension on Mother Earth as a human being. Now that's a pretty deep, that could take a couple hours to explain that. But what I can offer to you is this, Ryan, and you're in a fortunate place located up in Nova Scotia. I actually had the opportunity to meet this woman here that wrote this book. I think you can see it. It's called Comfortable with Uncertainty, and her name is Pema Chodron. Guess where she lives? And she's the abbey over at Cape Breton, Nova Scotia, and she's a Tibetan Buddhist abbey that is real close to you, that teaches a lot about karma. And I'll tell you right now, you are in a fortunate place. I'm kind of envious, I would have to say. But she would have some very good guidelines for you, depending on close proximity you are to her, to really get a clear understanding about karma.
Very close, yeah. My family's from Cape Breton, so.
There you go. You got a reason to go back and say hello.
Laws of the universe, I guess, yeah. Interesting. Thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Edward, for the comprehensive review of the past life, present life, and future life. All one connected. And I know that time is nonlinear, and so it could be happening right now as we speak. And Ryan, thank you for asking that beautiful question. And that is very well needed to be asked in this day and age, sort of, I would like to call it one-dimensional, capitalist society. And so when we bring this conversation about spirituality, meditation, psychology, and everything that we are very comfortable with, the pragmatic lifestyle, we then can inquire more in this during the COVID time, where, like Alexandra shared, we are forced to face within and now sort of decolonizing our mind from reaching out, expanding, but now universe. Someone say that universe is rather in contracting, sort of. Whether this or that, I think there is always a paradox in life, and that adds a dimension and story to our movie screener, Dr. Adrienne, your expertise in creating a beautiful, fun story. And Ron, hi, welcome back. Ron, you mentioned about quantum physics, and when we had a dialogue before with Ron and I in the YouTube one-on-one channel, Ron mentioned about quantum physics, and now it's becoming more a new thing, a trend in the Western world. And I want to mention, where SYED is in India, this quantum physics from Dalai Lama's perspective has been around for 2,000 to 4,000 years. And so this is nothing new. And when we look at the color spectrum, what we can see is not everything. And so these questions, Ryan, you're asking is very important right now in this time and age. And so as we have Jenny, it was late for her. It was sort of 10:30 p.m. in London, so she had to drop off to be with her family. And so we wish her well. And so at this point, we have a conclusion section. And let me share the screen here. And feel free to, after this session, check in with one another who you feel, called to, drawn to carry on this conversation moving forward. A match made in heaven, that's great. So I'm going to share the screen. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Our Life of Emerald presents Sacred Healing Summit, and Sacred Healing Summit presents Social Revolution. And today we had panelists. We have panelists speak about the navigating uncertainty with skillful wisdom. Our aim is to speak about the elephant in the room. An elephant, I like to, I call elephant because of the things we don't talk about, but it's very visible in our periphery in our life. So for example, is one example is mental health. And so moving on from here, this point, this summit can be reached and accessed on 2 platforms, Instagram and Facebook, and their handles are Sacred Healing Summit. And we are a platform to build community all over the world, just like you witnessed today. We allow people 27 to 55 years of age to grow a healthy mindset and balance your mental well-being at work and at home in a safe and secure online community. Please drop in to facebook.com/groups/lifeofemerald. Here is where you'll find plethora of healing resources. I've compiled 52 weeks of worth of healing resources here for the past 9 months. So feel free to join in for free. Here's where we conclude our Life of Emerald segment, Sacred Healing Summit, Navigating Uncertainty with Skillful Wisdom. Panelists, thank you so much for joining, and audience, Ryan, for joining us. I would certainly stay in touch with all of us moving forward, and I look forward to our collaboration, whatever manifests from here. And I pray and send intention that we all stay centered in the eye of the storm that is our soul, mind, and body integrated, where we are unshakable by any external realities, because internally we are sure that we are loved, supported, and always around everyone in every moment. Stay well. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.